Hi traders. Very good to see one of our members come to my house yesterday. We had a really nice long chat and a walk, so it was great. So it was really good to see you, Saz. And anybody else in East Kent or London would be very welcome to come and see me. A lot of data this week, a heck of a lot of data. On Monday we have Japanese retail sales, literally in a couple of hours. I'm doing this quite late on Sunday for various reasons. And pending home sales expected to be weak. Wow. Expected to be very weak. If that is the case, we need to take a very close look at the pound yen. Because if the yen comes in with strong retail sales on the back of good inflation data back in the last week, and the US comes in with poor home sales, that could see quite a drop in the US dollar yen. So we need to go and look at that. Also, the yen gained a lot on the pound last week, so we're going to look at that one as well. But into Tuesday, we've got, let me see, the most important thing on Tuesday appears to be some more yen data, so positive household spending, slightly better unemployment rate. We're going to US consumer confidence. On Wednesday, we have advanced GDP for US, expected to be a pretty wishy-washy 1.1. And Fed day, so we've got Fed statement and rates that evening, so Wednesday will be very good. Thursday, we've got European and UK rates, as well as manufacturing data for the US and jobs data, and Friday non-farm payroll. So it is extremely busy. So this pound yen, and so the monthly pivot just held on Friday, so we had okay UK GDP, but that saw this sell from the Thursday data. We closed just underneath that fib level, and then we sold down to the monthly pivot on Friday. So what I'm looking for is if this 150.50, so just under the monthly pivot, gets touched and hold and can come back up, then I'll be a buyer to see if we can break up here. But after 2 days selling under the 50 EMA, we're only just clinging on to that monthly pivot. We break that monthly pivot, and I think we could see ourselves come down and retest this bottom of this channel I've got here at 148.50. We've got monthly S1 down at 147.30, and the 200 EMA is down here. So we're effectively between the 200 and the 50 EMA on the daily, and that generally creates a lot of chop. So unless on Monday we quickly close above that 50 EMA, I would suggest we could even come down as far as 146 if that Japanese data comes in. Looking at the euro, yen, sticking to the yen pairs. Sorry, this is a weekly chart I've got here. Sorry, let's just go back to the pound yen again. I forgot. I've got my weekly chart up here. Let's just go get you to look at that as well. So that shows us having a good week 2 weeks back, having a not so good week last week, and I think overall I am still very, very bullish at the pound yen. I am expecting a lot more weakness in the yen as time goes on, but I just think we're going to see some further pullbacks before we see more upside. Okay, so this could be, let me think. Yeah, so I've said enough on that. Let's move on, because if that monthly pivot holds, then that could see greater upside. What we might see is just some strength in the yen in the early part of the week, and then a bounce in these pairs back end of the week. Weekly euro yen, this 132 was major resistance on the weekly chart. We came off of that. We're testing hammers down here. So we've got a huge amount of support on this one, and we held the daily 50 on this. So all this is at the moment is a fade of the daily 50. Monthly pivot is right down there at 128.70. So we start breaking that 130, then I would expect to see that monthly pivot tested. So 128 is a big number for that euro yen. And US dollar yen. That's had 2 days of heavy selling. Look how we've engulfed price action on the US dollar yen up here. So looks as if we could easily see 94 area. I would expect monthly pivot is holding just. Stochastics are very low, so we have had quite a heavy lot of selling. If we can hold this monthly pivot and get back above 98.80, I would even consider going long. But oh, excuse me, I'm yawning. I do apologise. It's been such a hectic weekend. At the moment, that is very weak. Just couldn't hold above parity, and we're dropping down here. It's a lower low close down there, but huge amount of support down here at 97.50. So at the moment, that is a short at 98.80. Okay, so yeah, massive area at 98.80, 50% fibs. I hope we don't end up with just a lot of entrapment. We could come back and test 99.90 and then just run down. We are below the 50 EMA now, so if we see a fade of that daily 50 EMA, then that could see us eventually come down here. This is between the 50 and the 200 EMA as well, so I would expect, we've got to wait. Now we're in this area here. I would expect the 200 EMA to start to come up towards us as we come down to meet that figure there. So I am short term. I'm bullish on the yen, which means I have to be bearish on these yen pairs. All right, let us go to the. Let's just look at the CAD yen, because that had a great week and then just came off. So we're below, just sitting on that trend line. Let me redraw that trend line. Very neat trend line. So unless we can at least hold 96, that is toast as well, and that looks as if they want to test the monthly pivot. Dollar pairs, pound US. And the daily has bumped into the 200 EMA, come down to the monthly pivot, and we are holding the monthly pivot. 3 weeks of buying, and the 50 EMA is up there on the weekly at 155. The RSI is just above the 50 level, close to the 60, and this stochastic is dipping down. With that 200 up here, and the last time the 200 was up here before. Nope, I apologise. I'm thinking of this area here, and we failed off the 200 here before. So I think we might get a similar pattern here. We might get a lot of touches of that 200, and then see that drop below back down to 153 area. A little bit of a topping tail on the weekly. Actually, let's look at this weekly in more detail, because we've bumped into quite a key area here. So 152.50, 60 area I think we want to come and touch that trend line, 156. We've held above this key pivot area here at 152.50 to finish the week at 153.78, roughly. So if we start dropping below 152.50, that pound's in trouble. I don't think we will. I think we'll get a pullback to 153. So the weekly suggests to me that pullback to 153 is a buy. Close underneath that 153.70 area, and drop below that on Monday, and then that is in trouble. I do find when you get a pinch like that on the 50 and the 200, you can get a lot of chop. So I think we may chop up and down there for the first half of the week, and then when we get the Fed day out of the way, and then the rate decision on Thursday, then we'll get direction. So I am going to stand back from that pound US dollar. I'm not going to touch that at least until Tuesday, possibly even wait until the Wednesday, Thursday data out of the way on that one. Euro. See how we've slammed into the weekly 200 EMA up there, and we saw this red bar there is today's open, Sunday's open. A little bit of a hesitant doji up there. So look, we've got 50 and 200 EMA cross up here. But that's going to prove to be a massive stumbling block on the weekly. So the euro, I mean, I tried shorting it on Thursday, and it just bust through. And Friday, it looked short on Friday and just held up really well. When we break that monthly R1, and we go back to 134. So it could. This is probably the better chart to trade. I would suggest a buy at 132.25 to see if that can break through this barrier here and move up at 134. Euro pound, not great. A lot more strength to the upside than there is to the downside. I wouldn't trade it. I think that's sideways at best. Let's look at the Aussie US before we move off the dollar pairs. I think we have been consolidating underneath this monthly pivot and that 50 EMA, and when we finally get up there and test it, we could drop hard. Look at the stochastic, we're quite high on this. I think this is potentially a bearish consolidation because this could be one of the better dollar pairs to trade. Because if we come out of that pattern there, this is the top of the triangle. So we retest the top of that triangle, fail to break through this humongous resistance up there. I think we could drop out of here and possibly even break down through underneath 90. But for the bulls, if they hold that above 93.50 in particular, then I expect to see a move up to this 99, possibly even parity. But that is in a tight apex, so the direction we come out of that apex is crucial. This pound Aussie dollar, I've got the trend line across the highs there, this monthly pivot and the 50 EMA creeping through. I think if that comes down to touch this area here, 164.50 area, that monthly pivot, 164, and that gets bought, that holds, I think that could blast off. So I'm seeing strength in that one. CAD Swissy, I was hoping would close above 91 and charge up, but since we tested that 200, that monthly R1, we've smashed into it, and then we've been selling, or hard sell next day, and then weaker closes for most of the time afterwards. So steer clear of that, and that looks weak, but not a very great chart to trade. Aussie CAD, very weak but difficult to trade. If we ever break out of that starts breaking above 95, I would consider getting into that. But overall, seeing weakness in the Aussie CAD, in the Aussie, so could drop out of that monthly S1 and head lower. Nikkei is interesting. Huge sellers bar last week, and this has fared a lot worse than the Dow. So weakness in this, this could hit. I think this could hit the Dow, and see buying in the dollar and the yen. Because we now compare that with the Dow, very hesitant weekly bar up there. That's a hangman. That weekly is a hangman with high stochastics and high RSI on that. In fact, we've got on a weekly, we've got divergent RSI. That's come up there with that potentially falling off. I think that hangman bar alone, and we forget the divergences, that hangman bar alone suggests that dollar, that Dow is struggling. The daily, I know we've got the 21 EMA down there. We touched the 21 EMA and charged right back up. The close on Friday was actually very bullish. I mean, break any close above this area here, and that is extremely bullish. If we close above there, RSI is quite high, stochastics are coming off. I think we need a touchdown here. I'm potentially very bearish on this. Close below this 155, and that close underneath last week's range, and that is very bearish. Close above it, and that's very bullish. So I'm going to hold this line here, draw a box around it, and so that draws my attention to it, and I will then be watching very, very carefully to see where we can go on that one. But I'm bearish on the back of that weekly chart alone. FTSE, so that's the oil. Let's go to the FTSE. That's bearish. We've closed below the 8. Friday saw the close below the 8. If we pick up on the back of the Dow's close and start closing higher, then I can get bullish again. But that 76.4% fibs close below that, and that's in trouble. That is a major level of resistance, and that is the trend line. That is a lovely triangular pattern. We close underneath that box, underneath that area there, and I would anticipate seeing a lot of downward pressure on that. Now, if we start to see a lot of downward pressure, I would expect that to start coming down to 6,300 and at least retest that 6,200. Let's put some fibs on this. We haven't got any fibs on this. So we're holding came right down to a massive level of support there, around about the 6,000 level. We bumped into, retest this star up here on the weekly, struggling, can't get above this fib level at 66.60. Weaker close, so we could be seeing a bit of a distribution pattern here. And the weekly trend line would have that. We're literally sitting on the weekly trend line there. So that again is an apex. And we fall out the bottom of that. I think that this FTSE is in trouble. I'm bearish the Nikkei and the FTSE, and I think the Dow is very much in the balance as we head into Fed week and non-farm payroll. Oil distribution pattern up here, R3, monthly R3. We've tested monthly R2. Time to come down to 101 at least. I'd see that shorting at 105 or 106 and retesting 102 area, possibly the magic 100 again. Let's look at some stocks. UK, Scottish and Southern struggling. It's hit that 16 and 33 resistance area, and it's a weak weekly. Rolls-Royce it's a sideways action, sideways to bullish action on the weekly. Seeing a lot of selling at R2. See how critical these pivots are. Monthly R2 gets tested. The next day we come right back off of that. If we can hold 1200 into next week, then that's good. Premier Foods I like. I would get into that at 85. And let's look at Domino Pizzas. Really look at this. We really struggled up here. Reversal bar up here, gaps down, runs into the 50 EMA on the daily. Now we're at the 200, and that's the typical pattern I would expect to see. You get a reversal pattern up here. You drop. You move sideways, and then as part of the consolidation, you go up to the daily 50, and then you eventually end up at the 200. And then look at where that sells. That sells right at the low of this bar here, an area in which we bounced from here, but sold through here. But more crucially, it's just the 50. It's the daily 50 EMA. So that one was a lovely fade of that daily 50 EMA. That to me that's a reversal bar on the weekly on this Barclays, and really struggling on that. I would expect that to break down, at least retest monthly R1 and possibly the 50 EMA. BT has been very bullish, but that's struggling as well. BG struggling. It's a messy chart. Afrin sideways at best. US Let's look at this one, Ocado. Very interesting. 2 weeks of selling. Coming off the monthly R1. We break down. We start closing under that level there, and that's a short. Close under 320, and that's a short, and we could be coming down to this 250 area there. That's the pattern. That's the triangle. Hold this, and we could just break up and keep going. But close underneath that, break through the monthly pivot, and that's got 250 written on it, possibly lower. US. Google. See, these are decent stocks struggling. Goldman's, it's holding up, but just. Start breaking below 163.40, and that's in trouble. RIM is in a mess. Bank of America is just holding up. But look at that reversal bar or doji-like bar in the weekly. Baidu was a fantastic stock. Look at 3 really huge moves up. So we were 907 not so long ago, and at the highs we tested 132.40. I would leave that and wait till that settles down. We'll look for an entry later on. Apple, strong close, really strong close on Friday, but potash is just not doing it. Commodities. We'll look at the commodities. Beans. Ooh. That's a hammer-like bar on Friday. And weekly's weak, but close above 12.30. I'd be a buyer of that. I'm going to give that a bit more time. Orange juice, hesitant up there at the very best. Hesitant. Gold. 3 weeks of buying. I think if we get to that R1, I think we'll see another leg down. Retest that trend line, and I'd expect that to go down and test the lows. Copper. Very weak. Very weak. So I'm seeing a lot of weakness in these charts. As we heading towards Fed Day, UK rates, non-farm payroll, I'm getting bearish. Okay, hope that helps, and look forward to seeing you on the Trades Round Table, where we will do further analysis and discussion on the big picture, but also the major support and resistance levels in these charts and key areas to look for. Okay, see you then.